Hey guys, Alan from Hack Gadgets here. Today's review day. We're going to be taking a look at our battery charger. Thanks to the guys over at gearbest.com for sending it in. It's an Opus BT-C3100 V2.0 lithium-ion, nickel-cadmium, nickel metal hydride, LCD Smart Intelligent Battery Charger. That's a mouthful. This thing is supposed to do it all. It has a street price of about 60 bucks, and it should be in this box here. So let's crack this open on the bench and check it out. Okay, so here's the box. I have cracked it open a little bit so we can get a sneak peek in here. Let's take a look at some of the specs first. So again, big thanks to GearBest for sending this in. Here's the actual units. There's the model number. There's the price, around 60 bucks. And there is actually a whole bunch of different ones. So these are similar battery chargers. They're all smart, and they all do, similar things. Here's also one by the same manufacturer. Just a bit simpler, lower price. There's another one there. And here's the specs on this guy. Okay, so hopefully you can see this here if you pause this in HD. So it says it has charging currents of 200 milliamps, 300, 500, 700, and 1 amp. And so since this is a smart battery charger, it also does discharging. So it discharges up to half an amp, 500 milliamps. It provides independent charging, so it basically, you can see here in the picture, it has a bunch of different styles of batteries, and it charges them all independently, which is nice. A lot of battery chargers will charge things in series, maybe 2 cells in series. So the issue there is, if you might have one good cell, one bad cell. The bad cell brings down your good cell, and now you have 2 bad cells. So by doing independent battery charging, that is really ideal. It's more expensive, obviously, because you need 4 independent charging circuits, but it is the proper way. Point number 3 here. So this uses the delta charging. So it uses the delta voltage, which is required for specifically nickel metal hydride, but obviously they're using it also for the nickel cadmium batteries. And it also does lithium ion to 4.2 volts. Okay, it also includes, I'm just reading off the list here, overheat detection to prevent batteries from overcharging. Let's see here, a bunch of different working modes. It says 4 working modes. It has a easy to read LCD with a backlight. It says it shows the battery voltage, charging, discharging current, charging time, battery capacity. And having a charger that can actually show you the capacity of the battery is something that is quite useful. So this is a really cheap battery, and it's listed as 3,000. Now, I'm just looking at this here, so it doesn't say that this is actually 3,000 milliamp hour, but I believe when I bought it, that is what the claim was. And just by the weight of this thing feels like air. And I'm not sure if I've used these particular ones or ones similar to this, but they don't last very long. Hence, they were extremely cheap. So I'm really curious to see what sort of amp hour rating I get from this thing. But we'll be able to know with this battery charger, hopefully. Let's open up the box and see what we get. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have a plug converter, a little bit of packaging material, and the unit itself. So I'm thinking that it comes with a European style plug, which is why we need the adapter into the North American style adapter. Okay, so here's the box. Actually, it looks really nice. So it comes in a bunch of different languages. Here's the different battery types. maximum charge capacity up to 20,000 milliamp hours. That's pretty crazy. Okay, and what do we got here? Same listing there, and then it sort of shows you the 4 different charging indications. So just by looking at it here, so this one's charging at almost an amp each. This one's doing a test. This one's doing a discharge refresh, and this one's doing a discharge. So well, that's pretty impressive if you could do different things with each of the different bays. That's nice. Okay, nothing much on this side. On the back we got the same thing, and on this side we just have a part number, which is backwards. Let's take a look here. There's the part number. Okay, let's crack open the box and see what it looks like. Okay, so we got operating instructions. We'll see if we need to access these or not. Okay, it comes with a pretty beefy power supply. And there we go, there's the European style end on it. I believe that is European. I could be wrong. Okay, what kind of rating do we have here? Let's see if we can focus on that. Okay, this is 12 volt 3 amp. That is beefy for a battery charger. And this thing has some good heft to it. And even the cable is yeah, that's pretty heavy duty cable on this thing. Okay, anything in the little pouch here? I don't think so. It's empty, and here's the actual charger. Okay, nothing else in the box. Okay, and here's the actual charger itself. The BT-C3100. There's the 4 charging areas here. Got some buttons, mode, display, current, and slot. We'll see how those work. Got some air vents in the bottom here. Just some standard stuff. Intelligent fast charger for AA, AAA, nickel metal hydride or NiCads, and lithium ion. Okay. There we go. So we can tell it obviously dissipates some heat because there's a little fan on the back. And here we go, 12 volts 3 amps, which is the power supply that they gave it, that they supplied with it. So, and these springs actually feel quite robust. The case is really nice. Let's plug this thing in and see what it does. Okay, one thing I just realized about these plugs is, just alone, this plug is actually quite large by itself. And when you add on the North American adapter, wow, is that ever sticking out there. So this might be an issue if you're plugging it into a wall jack, because now this whole thing is dangling by, you know, probably about 2 inches away from the wall. I think it'll be functional, but I don't know, this isn't the best idea. Okay, power supply is plugged in. Let's see what happens when we apply power to the charger. Okay, we got some sort of self-test happening there. And they go to null, and charge is flashing. And charge stopped flashing. Okay, so it looks like it has about a 6 or 7 second startup. I'm just going to toss a battery in there, see what happens. So hopefully you can see this display here. Right now it's saying null. I can zoom in a little bit. Okay, and top is positive. So this is those cheapy batteries. Let's see what happens. I'll pick the first one here. Okay, so it instantly went to charge, and it sort of jumped around a little bit, and now right now it's in 500 milliamp charge. What else do I have? Well, I got one more of these things. So I'll plug this into the last one. Okay, so it's at voltage, 1 volt it showed. Charge is flashing, 500 milliamp. So this one jumped down to 498. And now it's 503. Okay, so this looks like it's real time and actually quite accurate. The two center ones are showing null. So I'll leave those in for a little bit and I'll go grab some extra batteries. I'm sure I can find something else that needs charging. Okay, I have no idea what the state of this battery is. It's probably completely discharged. This was found in the bottom of a drawer. So this is a 2500 milliamp hour Energizer rechargeable. Let's see here. Yeah, so it shows here it's a 1.2 volt nickel metal hydride. Let's plug this thing in and see what it says. So these are still sitting around half an amp. Okay, 0.72 volts. That's nice. It actually shows you some interesting information. So this thing was obviously way dead. And there we go. It's charging at half an amp also. So we have 1.5 amps of charge going into the 3 batteries. Okay, I'm not sure what the buttons do yet, but I'm going to start playing. Let me just zoom into that a bit more. Okay, so let's see what mode does. Doesn't seem to do anything. It turned on the backlight. I'll press display. Okay, so there we go. Display shows us the voltage of all the units, 1.32, 1.24, 1.3. So these two outside batteries, these ones here, are from the same batch. I'm not sure if they've ever been used or not, so but if they were probably used in the same equipment. So that makes kind of sense that they're both basically identical, and this one here was the found in a drawer battery, so yeah, that makes sense that it's kind of almost dead. Okay, and here we go. So we're showing milliamp hour, so 24. So this is probably how much charge is being put into this battery. If they continue to climb, that's obviously what it is. Yeah, so that's probably the charge that's going in. And this looks like charge time. So this has been charging for 3 minutes, charging for 2 minutes. Well, it just jumped up a minute. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes of charge. And back to that. So it just sort of cycles through. Interesting. Okay, current. What does this one show us? Nothing in this mode. Slot, what does that do? Okay, this lets you cycle through. Okay, so let me see this one here. Can I select the current now? Nope. Can I do display? I see. Okay, so that's interesting. You can select a certain slot and then you can select what you want to show on here. So let me show, let's say, voltage on this one. And maybe I want to show milliamp hours on this one. Or sorry, milliamps of charge on this one. And on the first one, let me do milliamp hours. And if I leave it, it'll probably shut off, I'm assuming. It'll be intuitive if it does. There we go. And I guess when they're all flashing, you can just sort of select them all. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so let me get them all flashing. And there we go. And if I press it again, does it stop? Yes, it does. Perfect. I like that. So I'm not sure what this current one is for yet. Might have to read the manual for that one. Okay, I've been playing with it for a little while. It's been about 5 minutes. And if you notice, this one here is charging at 1 amp now. And the fan turned on. You can probably hear it. Pretty quiet. I like it. Let's see if she'll focus. and the batteries are stone cold, so it looks like they're charging quite nicely. Turns out there's actually 6 temperature sensors in here, and let me see if I can find. Yeah, so it says here if any of the temperature sensors activate, basically it waits until they all go back down to 40 degrees before the internal fan will switch off. So that's actually quite nice, and it is actually fairly intuitive to change the current on here. So what I'll do is I'll actually deactivate this one here. So I've disconnected it. So now this one is showing null, and we know when we pop it in, it reads the battery voltage there. So now if I just press current, in that first little while now, it's flashing. I can press it again. There's 700 milliamp. There's 1 amp. There's 200, 300, 500, and there we go. So I'll just crank it up to 1 amp. And now we're going to charge this puppy here at 1 amp, and these guys are being charged at half an amp. So that's pretty intuitive, and you know, seems to work pretty well. There we go. Because of that, so this one here is climbing up pretty quickly. And yeah, so since these ones here have been charging continuously, and this one here doesn't know that it was the same battery as before, it started out at 0, but obviously we have double the current that's being pumped into this guy here, which is why that one is climbing at twice the speed of its neighbors here. Okay, grabbed a fourth battery here. This is also an Energizer, but this one here is, let's see if it'll focus. It's a 2300 milliamp hour, so it's different again than the one we have in there. And I've also changed the current to all batteries now that are in there to 1 amp. I'm going to pop this one in, showing me the voltage, and at this time I can change the current. Haven't read this in the manual if we can run them all at 1 amp, but let's see what happens here. There we go. So we got 1 amp flowing into each of these battery cells, and I really like how it's not showing us what it's set for, but it's showing us what it's actually drawing. Let's stick a meter in series with one of these and see how accurate the display is. Yeah, I'm going to use a piece of paper to insulate this lead. I'm going to pull it down, pop in the battery, and try to get this lead in on this side. Let's see how well that works. Okay, we're making connection. It's flashing, so nothing on the meter yet. There we go, cranking up half an amp. So pretty accurate. Obviously there's something fluctuating slightly, and this one here is showing rock solid. So there might be, you know, possibly some metering going on while the system is analyzing the battery as it's charging. But it does look like it does stabilize at you know, every 4 or 5 seconds, right at half an amp. Okay, let's see how close the voltage is. I got this one charging at half an amp. These 3 are charging at 1 amp. Now let's go see. Okay, so there's your voltages. The first one says it should be 1.32 volts. Let's just see what it is. So this one is 1.5 volts. The second one says it's 1.29. Let's see what it actually is. 1.6. This one is 1.3, and it's actually 1.5. This one says 1.37, and it's actually 1.57. Okay, so what I'm thinking is this number represents the battery voltage probably when it's not being charged. I'm sure this is probably then pulsing the the battery voltage, and it might be reading the battery voltage when it's not being pulsed. This might just be reading the actual, the overall voltage. We can hook it up to the scope and see what sort of things the battery voltage is doing. Okay, so it looks like that's exactly what's happening. We have a few leads coming off of this far right battery. It's just being connected to the scope on channel 1. So we can see here we have 1.4 volts being listed, and on the scope I just have some information being shown on the display here. So this is the channel 1 display, and you can see here, just lock this in here, so you can see here we have the max voltage on channel 1 is floating around 1.7, 1.8, and the minimum voltage is floating around 1.4, 1.42, 1.40. So what I'm sure is happening is it's bursting some charges into it, and this is what we're reading here is the actual charge voltage.